Welcome to Protein Treats. Today we are making a high protein, low carb, sugar-free, berry crisp cobbler. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I grew up, one of my most favorite desserts that Mom would make for us all the time was rhubarb crisp. So we're gonna do a variation on that today that is super healthy, full of fiber, full of protein, and of course, sugar-free or almost sugar-free that you're going to love. So stick with me. All right, so you are going to need a coconut spray for your pan. Now, if you don't have that, you can use a little bit of tissue and some actual coconut oil, or you can use some olive oil, or you could even use a little bit of butter to make sure that your pan is well greased. You're going to need 1/3 of a cup of vanilla Nutralean, which is going to give you lots of prebiotic fiber and some of the highest quality protein you can get. And then you're going to need 1 cup of a baking or a granular stevia. So you can use a sucralose like Splenda, but we're using stevia right here. And you're going to need about 3 cups of berries. Now these are raspberries and blueberries that I have. In season, you can also use rhubarb, you can even use blackberries and strawberries. So whatever you have on hand, and don't feel like you have to get fresh. Frozen is just as good because they flash freeze the fruit right when they take it off in the farms, and then that gets sent to the market. So when you go and get frozen berries, a lot of times they actually have more antioxidants and more vitamin C than when you get in fresh berries. And just to keep that tartness, we also have a teaspoon of lemon juice. So that's what we need for our berries. Now for our crisp, we're gonna do things a little bit differently. So you're gonna need about 2 tablespoons of butter. Now I've pre-melted this butter and cooled it. You can also use coconut oil, so you don't have to use butter necessarily. I just happen to like the flavor because it tastes more like my mom's crisp. Now here I have 1/3 of a cup of chia, and I've taken the chia, I've put it in my blender previously, so I used my Vitamix, but you can use any sort of blender, and I've taken the chia seeds and I've blended them down. That's gonna make them cook a lot nicer. Then I have a little bit of stevia. Again, I have about 1/4 cup of stevia here. And I have 1/3 of a cup of coconut flour. Now, if you're at home and you don't have any nut allergies, you can go ahead and use an almond flour. I'm using a coconut flour because we have 2 kids with allergies now in our household. And then right here I have natural Nutralean. And you might be wondering, why didn't you use vanilla Nutralean? Because I wanted to have a little bit more of that neutral bready taste on the top crumbling that we're gonna make. So we're gonna go ahead with all of our berry recipes here to make the bottom. So I'm gonna start with my actual berries. So I'm gonna put those right into a medium mixing bowl. And then I'm gonna add in my stevia. So I'm gonna coat it really well with the sugar so it's all nice and even, just like you would if you were making a non-healthy, super sugary one. And then I'm gonna add my vanilla Nutralean, and we're gonna put that all together. It doesn't have to be perfect, you're just gonna use a spoon and you're gonna start to mix it up. And as you're mixing it, to keep that tartness, you're gonna add in a little bit of your lemon juice. And just like this, we're gonna mix it until it's pretty even, but not perfect. And it should look a little bit like this by the time you get it completely mixed up. Wonderful. Look at that, absolutely perfect. Now what we're gonna do is make sure that our pan, a little 9-inch pan, is sprayed really generously with our coconut oil. And you wanna take your mix of your berries now, and you just wanna spread it evenly across the bottom of your tin. So it doesn't have to be super perfect. This is what makes it such a traditional recipe. So we're just gonna kind of mush it down here on the bottom of the pan till it's fairly even. And what's so great about using lots of berries like your raspberries and your blueberries is they're super high in antioxidants and flavonoids and vitamin C, and they're really low in sugar and high in fiber. So when you mix that in with your Nutralean, you have a really healthy, incredible superfood bottom to start building your dessert with. So now what we're gonna do is put this aside for a minute, and we're gonna get all of our ingredients together for our crisp. Now, normally you would use oats and brown sugar for your crisp. We're not gonna do that today. We're gonna start with our natural Nutralean and put that in, and then our coconut flour. And the great thing about coconut flour is it's a very heavy flour, so it makes for a really dense topping, and that's what we want. And then we're gonna go ahead with a little bit of sugar. We don't want it too sweet because we've used a fair amount of sweetener in the bottom with the fruit. And now we're gonna put our powerhouse, which is chia seed. And because we've milled our chia seed with our own blender, we're getting all of the protein and the fiber out of the chia seed. It's actually easier to digest and get all of the nutrients and the amazing omega-3 fatty acids that we want right out of our chia. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up just so it's nice and even, and you can see here the consistency that we're trying to get. So when we put our butter in, what we want is a nice crumbly topping that we can put all over our fruit. So I'm just gonna mix that together. Once you have all your butter mixed in, then you're gonna add just a little bit of water in so you get the consistency you want. And you don't want it to be too wet because we're really gonna sprinkle it all over our berries. So I'm just gonna add maybe 1/8 of a cup here. And depending on how dry our coconut flour is and our chia, we're gonna keep adding a little bit of water until we get it nice and crumbly, exactly like we want to mix on top. And I'll show you, this is perfect. This is what we wanna see. It's almost like a pea-like consistency where it starts to stick together in nice little clumps, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So now that we have the consistency we want, we're just gonna sprinkle this nice and gentle across the top of our berries, just like that. You want it to look really crumbly. What you don't want is to have a nice even consistency because that's gonna look a little bit weird. So you want it to look like this, really nice and mixed up. So what we're gonna do now is bake this at 375 degrees for about 16 to 18 minutes, and we'll see how amazing this turns out. All right, so our berry cobbler has been in the oven for exactly 18 minutes at 375. It smells so good in here. You guys are gonna love this recipe. Let's pull it out of the oven and have a look and see at what we created. Look at this. How decadent and delicious does this look? Absolutely amazing, and it smells even more amazing. Did you think when you were eating low carb and high protein that you could get away with a berry crisp? Me neither. Now I'm gonna let this cool a little bit, and I'm gonna put it on my plate and give it a taste so I can show you guys just how amazing this is. All right, you guys, you can serve this with a little bit of real thick cream, or you can make our protein ice cream that you can see in the link in the description down below. But the one thing that you're gonna wanna do is serve this on a really cold, dreary, maybe a winter day. It's gonna make you feel so good. It's such a traditional recipe. It's perfect for when you have guests over, and even your fussiest kids or husband are gonna love this. So I'm gonna give this a little taste test here. Oh my goodness, this is so decadent. You are not gonna believe that you are having a healthy snack when you eat this. Your guests will never know. This is a 12 out of 10. Absolutely delicious. I would love to hear your comments. I wanna hear how yours turns out for you. Make sure you subscribe so that every week you get our awesome new recipes, and we'll see you soon, guys.